Crime can happen anywhere, but it is very prominent in large cities such as Chicago, specifically in impoverished communities as crime meshes together with the poverty cycle. Children living in poverty have inadequate access to education and as a result have trouble finding a job. Yet in turn something more accessible, like crime, and the cycle repeats. Crime is a much larger problem than many perceive it to be, with extremely far-reaching effects. The 16 Shots podcast talks about a police officer, Jason Van Dyke, who murders 17-year-old African-American teen, Laquan McDonald. The story was covered up, and the department gave the media a different narrative, which was spread all over the news. Cops were forced to follow a code of silence where they couldn't say anything, otherwise they would be considered an enemy by their fellow cops. The administration supported the narrative, although they weren't happy about it, and the mayors stayed out of it completely. Jamie Calvin and William Calloway both worked to get the true story, and Calloway ended up suing for the dashcam footage which was released. On a brighter note, Gene Gang's firm saw that the relationship between police and community was deteriorating and proposed the Planned Police, which turns police stations into community centers. In the past, there was a much more local system, and now with large districts and cars, it's difficult for cops to engage with communities they serve and or nearby schools. Gang talks with both the community and the police to see what each group wants, and although the plan is idealistic, it's also practical as they've begun adding things like basketball courts, which everyone can use. Sidewalks are meant to be safe, but in many communities they've become the opposite. Cities still believe that people want empty, quiet, and orderly, and because of this they build new cities with this idea in mind, and they rebuild parts of cities that have been unsafe in the past. As a result, no one wants to use the streets, making it more unsafe, and this leads to streets filled with crime and violence as bad people become attracted and move in. This results in increased security, which scares off possible newcomers that could be good people. The street stays unsafe. Jacobs proposes that people need a strong community where everyone is familiar with their neighbors, stores to encourage the use of streets, and have people willing to take action when they see that something is wrong. The interrupters seek to help youth involved with crime to leave it behind. The interrupters are usually ex-criminals that realize that what they've done in the past is wrong and try to help young people to stay away from violence. The interrupters that the documentary focused on were Amina Matthews, Eddie Bocanegra, and Kobe Williams. The youth that they helped grew up in communities full of crime, and that's all they knew growing up. While Amina and Kobe are focusing on individuals, Eddie is going to schools and helping the students express themselves to show them that there is more to life than just crime. Juvenile detention centers are also trying to do their part to get youth out of crime. Locking up young people only increases their chances of them returning to crime and not getting an education or a job. The result is cities beginning to arrest less youth and an increasing need for authorities to educate youth and acknowledge that there are learning, emotional, and substance issues. The solution that the article details is that strong schools must be created in juvenile facilities in order to refocus the juvenile justice system and educate and help the most troubled youth and those that are facing numerous obstacles. The relationship between community and police is a common topic for these sources. Gang's firm focuses on bringing together police stations in the communities, for example, making a basketball court at a station for everyone in use for the police to interact with their communities. Schools are also being created in juvenile facilities to help youth from the community and to help shine a different and better light on the authorities, to show that they aren't all evil. The interrupters are also working with the community in order to stop violence, and they also work with the authorities, which helps make the community feel less paranoid about the cops. There's also an increasing focus on street safety. Jacobs, in her Sidewalk article, calls for more usage of streets through stores and that people are familiar with each other to avoid the issue of strangers, making the streets safer. The murder of Laquan McDonald may spark people to look into how safe the police are really making the streets, or if they're contributing to the violence, and can propose solutions or reforms if needed. The interrupters, once again, are stopping violence in order to create safer streets, and this helps the communities feel better about using their streets again. Crime is a very large problem with extremely far-reaching effects. In order to lower the crime rate, the police department and its communities must learn to trust and work together. They can do so by engaging in more activities together and by being open to different perspectives. Together, they can create a safer environment for all.